Welcome to On Brand with Donny Deutsch, and I am Donny Deutsch, and this is the podcast that's like no other, even though a lot of podcasts out there. We're both built on a simple premise that everything today is a brand. Every person, every celebrity, every business, every product, every institution, every religion, every politician, anybody with a YouTube or a Facebook page is a brand. And what we like to do every week is break down the brands of the week, the brands, the people, and the institutions and the companies that are kind of setting the zeitgeist of where we're going and how we're getting there, the ones that are making news, talk about which brands are up, which brands are down. And we also have a great interview today about his personal brand, and that's Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary, if you don't know Gary, strap in and listen. He is probably the preeminent voice about social media. He's got about 30 million followers across all his platforms. He built a media empire, VaynerMedia. He is a inspiration. He's a motivational speaker. He's a rags to riches story. Incredible, incredible guy. He's known as Gary V around the world. And so we've got our big brand interview with Gary Vaynerchuk. But first, our brands of the week. Let's get right to it. The first brand of the week, and a big brand up for Brand USA. That's right, America, Stars and Stripes. The American brand is way up. According to Pew Research, USA's favorability across the world ratings are up almost 30%. For instance, in France, under Trump, the ratings of the kind of favorability or positive ratings about the U.S. were 31%. Under Biden, 65%. Across 12 countries in Western Europe, it's there 40%. They had been at a low point in France and Germany, in the UK, in Canada, Japan, all our allies. And they've literally doubled since Trump left office. And you know, whether you like or dislike Trump's politics, everybody knows how I feel about Trump. I can't stand the scumbag. But basically around the world, we're seen very, very differently now. And that's no surprise. Look, Trump was built on destroying NATO, and his attitude was, you know, we pay for too much and fuck everybody else around the world, an isolationist, and the rest of the world heard that. But the good news is Brand USA way back to the rest of the world. And that's obviously critically important for everything we do. So a big brand up for USA. Big brand up for Morgan Stanley. This is going to be my biggest brand up of the week, and I'll tell you why. And their CEO, James Corman. Basically, he said, if you can go to a restaurant in New York City, you can come back to work. He's doing the politically incorrect thing, but correct thing of saying to people, look, guess what? Get back to the office. Here's a quote. He said, look, we do our work inside offices. That's where we teach. That's where our interns learn. That's where we develop people. And you're coming back to work. If you can go to a restaurant, you can come back to work. And I salute that. Look, I'm somebody who built a company, and I understand what being in an office means. Yeah, sure, a lot of people would rather stay home in their underwear. That's easier to do. But that's where it happens. That's where the energy happens. And for anybody near the beginning of their career, I think back to my first job at a big agency called Ogilvy & Mather, and just learning how to interact with people in a business environment, just understanding basic business dynamics. But you need that. And I salute a CEO who's not kind of letting the inmates run the asylum, whereas basically, ooh, you know, we have to cater to every employee and they want flexible this and flexible that, and they want to work at home. And fuck that. You have a company and you're allowed to say to people, come back to work. And by the way, if you're somebody that's so terrified and you're not going out, that's a different story. But I think there's a great set of words that if you can go to a restaurant in New York City, you can come back to work, and he's making his bankers come back to work. And I love that, Morgan Stanley, and I wish more companies did that, because companies' productivity is going to drop off without people in the office. But most importantly, young people will suffer. This is where people learn. This is where you engage. It's one thing if you've been working 20, 30 years and you know they're out. So good for Morgan Stanley. Big brand up for CEO James Corman. Big brand down for one-night stands and basically real physical sex with young people. This is a really interesting thing. And this says a lot about our post-pandemic world. There was a survey done with 2,900 singles between the ages of 18 and 40. And I want you to listen to some of these stats. This is just really incredible. More than half have not been physically intimate since the pandemic started. Okay, that's no surprise. And a half have turned to virtual sexual intimacy, what they call. But here's the stunning thing. 2/3 plan to be just as virtually intimate as during the pandemic versus physical intimate. So relying on video chat, 61%, sexting, 54%, phone for sex, 47%, and 64%, almost 2/3 have said the pandemic has changed what intimacy is. And 57% now place a higher value on other types of intimacy, intellectual, emotional intimacy, and half think that one night, this is where the one-night stands come in, half think one-night stands were a thing in the past. And this is concerning, not one-night stands. I was never a big one-night stand guy. But, you know, we're building a generation. Of course, it's easier to have intimacy over a phone or over a sext versus real flesh and blood. You're putting yourself on the line more. And what the pandemic has taught a younger generation, particularly, Gen Zers, and I guess it's millennials, that, wow, it's easier to do it with a phone. It's easier to not have to get naked in front of somebody and suffer all the kind of nervousness that comes with that. So this is a really concerning thing. I mean, I say it tongue in cheek that one night stands are dead. It's not about that. It's about that the pandemic has allowed people to recede. And in the case of sex with a lot of young people, they're not willing to step forward again. And I think that's a bad thing. I think that flesh and blood is a good thing for intimacy, and real human intimacy cannot be replicated in any virtual situation. So a big thumbs down for all the Gen Zers who believe in virtual versus real, and a big thumbs down for one night stands since they're not going to be coming back. Big thumbs up for ultimate slip and slide. That's right. There's actually a show in the air. I don't know if this is for some of you non-youngsters out there. Whammo had a product called Slip and Slide, which basically you put in your backyard in grass. It was a big, long, slick strip. You'd put the hose on it or a sprinkler, and then young kids would go dive and slip and slide. They come out with a competition show, where you basically have things like the human pong and body polling and body bowling and all these things that grown-ups do on slip and slides. Who says there's a dearth of creativity in this country right now? But the asterisk to this thing is, unfortunately, they had to shut down because 40 crew members got diarrhea. And it became rampant on the set, and they set down production on the last 2 or 3 days of shooting. I don't know if they've resumed or what happened, but it just says something, and I'm going to get into this also, I'll get into other things, that because TV is aging so much, and the average viewer on television now is late 50s, early 60s, whatever it is, that so much in television now is hearkening back to what was. Because if you say to a 30 or 20-year-old, oh, slip and slide, they go, huh, what? But it's interesting how even a goofy show like that, it kind of points to a bigger trend that in television, we are going backwards because they know they need to age with their consumers because there are no new consumers coming in. So a big brand up despite the diarrhea for NBC's ultimate slip and slide. Big brand down for Ron Johnson, asshole. But big brand up for YouTube. They took him off of YouTube for a week. They suspended him because of him giving misinformation about the vaccine, saying things that worked that didn't, and making somehow the vaccine seem that it's not safe. Fuck you, Ron Johnson. I mean, this is people's lives. You're a U.S. senator. You represent millions of people. How dare you? So big things up for YouTube, take him down. And Ron Johnson, he's one of these guys I think could be vulnerable running for re-office. He's just a bad dude. Ron Johnson, big brand down. Big brand up for Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, one of my favorite actors, is coming back for his 5th Indiana Jones. But here's the news. Here's kind of the brand interesting news. And I've talked a lot about this with Biden and other interesting, how aging in America is not really happening. Biden is 78. Harrison Ford is 78. We have a 78-year-old action hero. Think about that. That's just stunning. That's 78-year-old. And you think about going to concerts, the Rolling Stones, they're in their late 70s and the audience is all in their 70s. And this is all endemic of something I've talked about before. The boomers refuse to age. It is the biggest bubble that has ever moved through a population. And the same way, we're not letting anything die. We're not. I've always said that Viagra is the perfect symbol of this. Is the first generation that's not going to let their hard-ons die. They're going to keep them into their 80s and 90s. We don't let our rock stars die. We're not letting our action heroes die. And so that the fact that you can make a movie with a 78-year-old action hero shows the power of this bubble moving through the python, if you will, the baby boomers. One little kind of sidebar, kind of sobering note that early pictures have come out from the set, and it shows, Harrison Ford with his shirt unbuttoned in it, and he's just not looking that good. It sounds great on paper, a 78-year-old action hero, but it's been all over the internet that a lot of the pictures coming out is that he looks like a 78-year-old action hero. So we'll see how that one does, but I give a big thumbs up to Harrison Ford and a big thumbs up to aging. Along the lines of going backwards, this is going to be a theme I keep talking a lot about on the show, is, what's old is new again, a dating game reboot. The dating game. Remember the dating game? The dating game, somebody comes on, they can't see 3 people behind a thing. And it's another example of if you're 60-year-old watching TV, you want to bring back the things you grew up on. And this is with a celebrity dating game hosted by, I don't know who came up with this, Michael Bolton and Zoe Deschanel. And Michael Bolton sings clues. You know, funny dating game. A lot of celebrities went on the dating game before they were celebrities. Ron Howard, Sally Field, Tom Selleck. This is going to have celebrities on the dating game. And once again, it's all that's showing is the aging of television, that they keep coming back to just old ideas because you've got an old audience, not a new one coming in. But yay for the fucking dating game coming back. Big brand up for Jeffrey Toobin. If you're not aware, Jeffrey Toobin was the star CNN legal analyst, brilliant mind, nice guy also. And he was thrown off of CNN and terminated to New Yorker because on a Zoom call, I think it was with the New Yorker, not the CNN part, but on a Zoom call, he thought he was off. I'm going to say this with a straight face because it happened. He thought the Zoom call was over, and he thought he was on another computer or whatever, and he started masturbating. And unfortunately, some people were still on that Zoom call and they saw, and of course he resigned or he got fired. And, you know, you kind of say to yourself, besides saying to yourself, what the fuck was this guy thinking? Like, dude, if it's time for you to pleasure yourself, go into another room. Don't you you don't know how that happened. But the reason he's in the news is that basically CNN has said, we're taking him back. And I applaud that. I applaud Jeff Zucker. He said, look, it was a deeply moronic and indefensible thing because I'm a flawed human being that makes mistakes and there is no defense for my conduct. And in an interview, one of the CNN anchors was interviewing him, and just matter-of-factly, you thought you were watching a farce, was like, so Jeffrey, you were working at CNN for 30 years and then you were caught masturbating on the air and you were let go and now you're back, and what the hell were you thinking? The same thing Jay Leno said when he interviewed Hugh Grant after he got caught with a hooker. It was a famous interview. And I salute this because, look, beyond the ridiculousness of what he didn't abuse anybody. He didn't push himself on anybody. I do believe that certain things deserve second chances. Certain things do not deserve second chances. The Harvey Weinsteins and the fucking scumbag pigs of the world obviously do not deserve second chances. But this was something that he made a mistake. He made a technology mistake. Yes, I'm sure the people who were on the receiving end of it were offended, but they're giving him a second chance. And he didn't set out to hurt anybody. And I think that's great. And I think Jeffrey Toobin deserves a second chance. Hopefully he learned his lesson and he will keep his own personal activities outside of the Zoom sphere, if you will. Big brand up for canned fruits and vegetables. Now, this is a personal thing I bring up. The pandemic has changed a lot of things. And Del Monte, which makes canned fruit cocktail and canned pears and all kinds of canned fruit and canned vegetables. And then you have, the Jolly Green Giant canned vegetables. I grew up on that stuff. They're up 200%. And interestingly enough, 39% say they hold their nutritional value longer than real fruits and vegetables. Obviously they do. And to me, the only reason I put them in as a brand up is that it brings back my childhood. I grew up with canned fruit cocktail, with canned everything, canned beets, and I did not have an underprivileged childhood. That's just the way we grew up in the 60s with canned vegetables and canned fruits. And I never knew what a fresh fruit was until I got older. And guess what? I'm healthy. I didn't need it. I had that horrible fruit cocktail and that heavy syrup, and I somehow survived. So, a brand up for canned fruits and vegetables. Fuck yeah, why not, man? I did okay with them. Brand up for Burger King. Burger King has a brilliant new spot. A lot of advertisers are obviously doing commercials that are kind of demonstrating a new world post-pandemic and welcoming their customers back and saying it's great to be back. And the way Burger King did it, they showed a salute to their annoying customers. They basically showed customers being their most annoying selves, whether it's thinking they're at McDonald's, ordering McDonald's or Burger King, or standing up there not being able to decide for 10 minutes, or paying with 2,000 pennies for something, screaming children. And what they did, they showed all these annoying customers. They said, welcome back. We missed you so much. And it was a really fresh way of saying, look, the customer's first, but tongue-in-cheek, kind of poking fun and saying, like, even at your worst selves, we missed you, we loved you. And I thought it was a brilliant idea. So a big brand up for Burger King. Big brand up for Ford pickups. I did the Ford 150. I gave them a brand up. Now they're coming out with a Ford pickup Maverick. And basically what it is a hybrid truck. It's a small pickup truck that they're aiming actually at women, and they're aiming at, but the thing about this is interesting is you think about a pickup truck and you go, oh, pickup truck, man, that's kind of balls out. That, I'd love to drive a pickup truck even though I have no need. So they kind of, because it's kind of like, it's kind of tough. I got a pickup truck, man. I got tools and things, even though I don't. And they're understanding that there is this emotional thing about it, and they're selling it, as I said, to women. Which obviously pickup trucks historically heavily sold men. Its price starts at $19,995. drive. It's something you tool around the neighborhood, even though you're not using the flatbed in the back. And I think it's somebody who's really understanding the psyche of people. So I kind of like the small pickup trucks, the Maverick, a big brand up for Ford Maverick. Big brand up for streaming. Look, we know streaming's here, and we know it's a big way. That's why everybody's watching. But this was really stunning. Advertising, the industry has what's called an upfronts, where basically all the advertisers kind of place their bets on media ahead of time with all the major studios and networks and whatnot. And Disney reported that 40% of their upfront ad budget, that 40% of all ad spend on Disney. Now, Disney owns obviously the streaming, and they own ABC and ESPN and other cable and traditional broadcast networks, but yet 40% of the ad spend was on streaming and digital. That's $4 out of $10 not going to television, not going to outdoor, not going to radio, not going to direct mail, not going to any traditional media. And that's a big fucking deal because that's just way up. And next year you'll see that at 50% until basically there will be no more traditional media, but big brand up for streaming. One of my favorite brand ups for the week is, and the show is a kind of I don't want to say an R-rated show, but we like to keep it clean because the kids like to listen. But Gold Bond powder, you remember the old powder? They're doing an ad online, and it's, I'm going to try and do this delicately, and it's targeting their product for men who have sweaty testicles. Okay, I'm not going to necessarily include myself in this, but what it is, and it's part of a bigger trend. I'm going to get into the commercial's funny. It's showing men throughout time talking about basically giving up different names for their sweaty testicles, meatballs with too much sauce. You get the idea. But what it's showing is a trend in advertisers. There was a laxative product for Philips that said, boy, it's good to have a good poop, isn't it? And it's advertisers beyond the silliness of it, of talking about guys with, it's the product is used for that a lot. And yet it's kind of done under the radar. And it's advertisers realizing the consumers are grown-ups. And we could talk to them about how they really use stuff, how that's used a lot that way. And it also talks about smelly feet. So instead of just saying, well, Gold Pond can make you dry, and no, you have sweaty testicles, we'll clear it up for you. The same way if you want a good poop, Philips will help you get there. And I think that's almost a respect. Some people go, oh, that's disgusting, you can't say it. I think showing consumer respect, saying this is what the product does, we know it, you know it, and we talk about it. So big brand up for Gold Bond. My final brand up, and just some of the other words that they came up with for sweaty testicles in the ads: Niagara balls, moist marbles, soggy satellites. You get the idea. But still, a brand up because Gold Bond, respecting consumers, we understand how you use our product. Last brand up is for, I'm going to call him Pokemon Boy, and his name is Bryson Kleiman. He's an 8-year-old in Lebanon, and his dog was sick and needed an operation. Wasn't going to be able to get it if they didn't come up with $665, and his family didn't have it. So what Bryson Kleiman did is he set up a little stand in front of his house, and he had a Pokemon collection. He'd been collecting since he's 4. 4 years later, it was the most valuable thing in his life. If you collect stuff, you know how important it is. And he set up a stand in front to sell all his Pokemon cards so he can get his dog the operation, and it hit viral, and people came and just started shelling out money. And just as a beautiful story of a young 8-year-old taking matters from his own hand, understanding, obviously, as much as he loved his cards, he loved his dog a lot more. So my big brand of the week comes to, I call him Pokemon Boy, but his name is Brian Kleiman. And those are our brands of the week. All right, I am really thrilled to announce today's guest. He's a monster. And when I say he's a monster, he's a monster. And this guy is the definition of success, definition of multitasking, the definition of an entrepreneur, the definition of a gritty hustler, a guy I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Gary Vaynerchuk the introduction is going to take a long time because
let's get into the show.
I got to set you up because the big holding company is VaynerX, and VaynerMedia is probably the biggest part of it. I don't want to call it an agency because it's more than that. It's also got Vayner Productions, Gary Media Group, the Sasha Group, Tracer, Vayner Speakers, Vayner Talent, Vayner Commerce. He's also a co-founder of Vayner Sports, Resi, Empathy Wines, a very empathetic guy, a tremendous speaker. He's also got the podcast, The Gary V Audio Experience. He's 5-time bestselling author. His social media goes, of course, about 30 million followers. Gary V, welcome to On Brand.
Thanks, Donny. It's a real honor to be on with you. Hope you've been well.
I've been well. And, before we get into it, I want to play a clip of you on the big idea about 14 years ago. That was my old CNBC show, for the listeners don't ask. It was a show about entrepreneurs long before Shark Tank or any of the entrepreneur shows. And here's a 31-year-old, very feisty Gary Vaynerchuk.
You know, too many people don't understand. Sometimes, you know, people are talking about, what are you doing now? To me, it's not about what you're doing now. It's about where you're going. You know, I was a young guy. I'm still a young guy. I want to accomplish crazy things. And there's no way I'm going to cash in. I'm going to reinvest with the people around me. Absolutely. It's hardcore.
You can't go wrong betting on talent.
No, it's
you
number
want the
one.
difference between staying small and getting big. And whatever you do in life, I just want to put this out there in neon again, is it's the people, stupid. You invest in people, will always come back.
Gary, that seems like yesterday, 14 years ago. How come I look so much fucking older and you look younger?
I do too. No,
what the fuck happened with that, man?
We both look like we had a good and aggressive 14 years. I look like a child. I look like the son of who I look like now. I remember that show very vividly. I always talk about that appearance quite a bit, because for the listeners here, to Donny's point, I'll say it for him, that was there was no business shows that you wanted to be on more than that show at the time. And I was very honored to be on it. And, you know, it's really funny, just listening to that clip real quick. It scares me to think nothing's changed from the feelings I just had, the chemicals. I feel like I'm still an extremely young guy. I have a tremendous amount of ambition. And, you know, experience matters for a reason. So you get into this, and I'm sure you feel this way. I think when you have young, raw talent, you know, there is a level of conviction and confidence that comes along with that is beautiful. And a lot of times you're fresh eyes and you're seeing things others can't. But there's an incredible amount of value in pattern recognition and reps. And since that day to this exact second, those 14 years make me feel really ambitious about the next 14 years. So I still have that energy, that hunger.
Hey guys, let's hear from some of our sponsors now. Hey, I want to talk to you about Burrow. It's a really great company. Look, if there's anything we've learned over the last few years, is that everybody wants to be mobile. And people like to move around a lot. And, you know, sometimes there's a lot of hassles that come with moving, even if you want to move. And you've got heavy furniture, taking it apart, putting it back together. Let me tell you about a furniture brand that is made for moving. That's Burrow. If you're somebody that likes to be mobile and you want to pick up and leave, even if you think you might be staying for a few years, when it's time to go, it's Burrow. It's easy to assemble, easy to move. Its innovative modular design and super helpful instructions make assembling and disassembling your furniture quick and hassle-free. So when it's time to move, your Burrow furniture will not keep you there. It's not like, oh my God, I can't move. I got all this crazy heavy furniture. I can't even take it apart. Burrow lets you go. Their credenzas are perfect for your TV. It's got adjustable height interior shelves, cord organizing holes at each corner. Their award-winning Nomad sofa has a built-in USB charger so you can take conference calls from the couch or just keep scrolling Twitter. So this stuff is really built for today. And it's easy to shop. You spare yourself the warehouse trip, going to any of those crazy stores where you got to assemble furniture. You shop online. Everything is designed to work perfectly together in your living space. So all you got to do is add to cart, plus Burrow's world-class support team is available for whenever you need. Fast free shipping on every order saves you an average of $100 on large items like a couch. Right now, you can get $75 off your first order at burrow.com/Donny. That's Burrow, BURROW.com/Donny. For $75 off your Burrow purchase, burrow.com/Donny. I'm telling you, this is the way to go, Burrow. From the iPhone to Pixar, Steve Jobs led a career full of groundbreaking innovation. But his road to Silicon Valley success was a rocky one, filled with failure and burned bridges. From Wondery on the new season of Business Movers, learn how Jobs took Apple from near disaster to total triumph. Wondery is an amazing series, and this new season of Business Movers is incredible. Steve Jobs liked to say a computer is a bicycle for our minds. He saw how bikes elevated our minds and bodies, and he thought computers could do the same for the brain. Had a knack for the big picture, seeing a computer animated film like Toy Story could be the future of movies, or a phone in our pockets could give us a universe of information at our fingertips. And this is from the makers of the hit series Business Wars, comes this new season of Business Movers, a weekly podcast that explores the legendary and controversial career of Steve Jobs. I'm telling you guys, I'm a guy that built a business. This is a great series, and this particular one on Jobs is amazing. Please, please, please check it out. I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot. You will not be disappointed. Listen to Business Movers, The Enlightenment of Steve Jobs on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen 1 week early and ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app. Wondery, that's WONDERY. Feel the story. I hear, you're 45, I'm 63. I feel like I'm just getting started also. I don't know when that stops. I don't know when it is. But to your point, the combination of what you call reps, whether 10,000 hours or whatever it is, with the kind of the raw hustle, ambition, and grit is a great combo. I got a great compliment. Last week I was doing an interview with Ad Age, and they do a weekly interview the editor does online. And I think you've done it in the past. And they said to me, there are really, this Donny, when you were in the business, you were a big personality, and there were really, other than Gary Vee, there are no personalities today. And it was a real pleasure and a compliment being compared to you. But where you blow by me in spades is that, I built a great company. I built an agency, and it was one business, and that you have just had this vision and you understood the Gary Vee brand, but you keep taking it to new places. And that to me is so impressed me. Because it's very easy. You build something and you stop and you go, this is great, but you keep you're on the cusp of every next thing. You just started your NFT business, your esports business. And give me where the kind of vision to where it's like you're always about tomorrow, and it's always about what's next. And that's what drives Peter.
That is right. I think it comes from a couple things. One thing that I've realized about myself recently, unfortunately, I'm glad I made it back on time. I had a funeral I had to go to of an incredible woman by the name of Barbara Siegelman, who was, in essence, my dad's great aunt through marriage. And this was the family that when we came from the Soviet Union that really took us under their wing and Americanized us and helped us in a lot of ways. And, I was just with my mom and dad and sister, us kind of core, my brother as a young family wasn't able to make it. And I was just thinking as I was looking at my folks, because that was kind of like the rich American family side of the family, right? I remember the first time I saw a car phone, like in the car was in a Jaguar that Barbara Siegelman had, right? And this is when like we were really lower middle class, And it was funny when you just asked that question, how I just put the two things that happened today together. I think the biggest thing that makes me keep going is how little I like the fruits of professional success from a financial standpoint to do things with it. I prefer the game.
It's the process, not the shit, not the stuff. That's it. I love when you give speeches to young people. You start about, don't fucking tell me about what you're going to buy or what you're going to do.
It's really big for me. Yeah. And honestly, I want to find a little bit of balance because there's people that genuinely love the craftsmanship of a great watch or having a yacht or, I don't want to demonize enjoyment. For me, enjoyment is having the means to go to every playoff game of the Knicks and Jets if I want to. So I have things I'm passionate about as well. But the real answer to your question is it's more fun to me and I just am coming out of one from February 12th to May 12th, actually. I was going at it at a level that I probably hadn't gone at it in a while because I was building this NFT project while VaynerX and VaynerMedia are exploding. It is our era. It is our time. We're in the pre-dawn of our decade, for sure. We've built a large company, but now the world's really coming to our level and our style of advertising. And I just, and it was getting nicer out. And New York and COVID's kind of like, we all know what we're living through. And a lot of people were golfing and sailing and doing some stuff. And I was happy. And I realized, my God, it is my hobby. My great hobby is innovating new things. And my great talent is having intuition around new things. And, it's turning out to create a unique career.
Yeah. No, the VaynerMedia is interesting. For those of you who don't know, Gary, you kind of built your bones in social media and as a digital guy, and you backed it as opposed to traditional agencies that says we need to figure out the digital thing. You did the other way around. And you've got blue chips clients now, as blue as they get. I have to congratulate you on a spot that I saw you did recently. Fucking brilliant for Pepsi about, Set to Annie. This will come out tomorrow. And I'm not going to do it justice, but it's basically showing all the things, all the kind of disgustingly human, relatable things we do, drink from each other's things, sweat on each other, and that we're back doing it now. And give me the quick story, because you were I was an outsider in my business also. And, I was kind of the renegade and nobody liked me. And I was, I was disrupting before I knew what disrupting was. And you've built an entire empire on that. So give me the beginning of VaynerMedia and how it's just exploded.
I'm a big fan of self-awareness. I think if you're listening to this show, this is actually a very good topic because I just have a good enough sense of who you are if you're listening to me on Donny's show. Like you're in a pocket of interest, ambition, curiosities. I gotta tell you, self-awareness is a monster that isn't talked about enough. I had built this very large business, which is what gave me the luxury to be on Donny's big show at the time for my dad, this wine business. I did it in a very contemporary way, email, website, and the YouTube show, which is really revolutionary at the time. And I started getting attention from Silicon Valley. I became an early investor in Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and really found myself deep in Silicon Valley Web 2.0. And I started having crazy life experiences, meeting Barack Obama and talking about social media, spending dinners with Mark Zuckerberg, like just real, I mean, like going from a liquor store in Springfield and like, 24 months in these rooms that I'm in. And I remember not only being in the room, Donny, but feeling, because I would stay in a very narrow convo. It was communication, right? It wasn't like we were talking about healthcare.
Sure.
We weren't talking about the solar system. We were talking about my game. And my marketing to build my dad's store, I built a $3 million, almost $4 million business to a $60 million business with no money on just finding every angle that was of the second. And the KPI was a business result, not a headline, not a metric, not a report. It was business. And I remember not only being in the room, but I remember feeling like the sharpest tool in the room.
Yeah.
And this were sharp tools. And so I didn't go crazy. I didn't go egotistical. I didn't think I was anything special. I just had a really calm year with myself in 2009, 10 saying, okay, this is something. What am I going to do about it? And I remember I leaned into another thing of mine, which is not as obvious given my energy, but I really, from both of my parents and my upbringing, have a level of humility and patience that's unique. And I said, you know what? I've got this talent. Why don't I build I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm going to build a communications Death Star for myself. This is where you don't even know this part of the story. What's really unique about Vayner is I don't have a dream of selling it to a holding co with a huge earnout.
You get offers all the time, don't you?
All the time.
Yeah. What's the multiples today?
I mean, the things I'm getting offered are crazy because they're multiple on revenue, not on EBITDA.
They're giving multiples on, what's the multiple on revenue they're giving you now?
I could probably get, I've been offered something in the ballpark of 5 to 7 on revenue versus 12 to 18 on EBITDA.
That's crazy.
But what I'm really focused on is I'm building this for myself. Resi was a $200 million exit to Amex. Constellation bought Empathy 18 months in. I did something with K-Swiss sneakers that really worked. I sold $40 million worth of NFTs, Donny, in 3 weeks. There's been 700, I'm going to give you the exact number because I like real data. In the last 24 hours, if you go to cryptoslam.io, this is for all the people trying to learn about NFTs, cryptoslam.io. In the last 24 hours, $723,000 worth of VFriends tokens have changed hands in secondary sales.
Hey guys, let's hear from some of our sponsors now. I want to talk to you about Athletic Greens. And if you're at all into health and nutrition and simplicity and effectiveness, this is where you're going to go. Look, there's so many stressors in life. It's difficult to maintain effective nutritional habits to give our bodies the nutrients it needs to thrive. Well, we all got busy schedules, poor sleep, exercise, the environment. Stress or simply not getting enough of the right foods can leave us deficient in key nutrients. And this is where Athletic Greens comes in. I've tried it. It's life-changing. I feel it's the best nutritional thing I've ever tried. I got rid of my multivitamins. It's the daily all-in-one superfood powder. It's a nutritional essential. Is by far the easiest and most delicious nutritional habit you can add to your daily routine today and empower towards better habits. It's one tasty scoop, contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, green superfood blend, and more that all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet. Increases energy and focus, aids with digestion. I'm telling you, this is better than any of the regimen you're doing. I'm telling you right now, Athletic Greens is great. And look, while most nutritional products come to market and stay stagnant, Athletic Greens continues to obsessively improve this one holistic formula based on the latest research, producing 52 improvements over the last decade and counting. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and contains less than 1 gram of sugar without compromising. So please, Athletic Greens has got you year-round immune support by offering this is just for my audience, a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase if you visit my link today. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/Donny and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to health every day. Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/Donny. You get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packets today. I'm telling you, I love it. I'm in great shape. I'm a health nut. Athletic Greens, way to go. This summer, everybody's raring to go out. You know, we were all locked in last summer. So whether it's going to the beach or going to a park or wherever it is, or just walking outside, it's time to celebrate the best season of the year like never before. With so many great stories and programs, Audible is the perfect summer partner. And now is the absolute best time to do it because Prime members can save 53% off your first 4 months. Look, if you don't know Audible, and I hope you do because it's amazing, you can listen to more, whatever you're into, because Audible has it all. An unbeatable selection of audio books, tons of binge-worthy podcasts, and exclusive originals, all available to download or stream. And here's what you get. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month, like the latest bestseller or hottest new release. It's yours. You keep it forever. But here's the best part. You also get full access to Audible's streaming library, the Plus catalog. Discover your next podcast obsession, check off the audiobook off your bucket list, or get lost in the world of original content from celebrity creators, best-selling authors, and leading experts. The kind of stuff you can't hear anywhere else. Stream all you want, as much as you want. And right now, for a limited time, Amazon Prime members can save, I said it before, 53% on 4 months of Audible. That's only $6.95 a month. If you're not an Amazon Prime member, what are you waiting for? Go to Amazon and sign up so you can get this deal and so much more. Get more out of summer with Audible. Go take advantage of this incredible limited time offer. Go to audible.com/Donny. That's audible.com/Donny. I wouldn't steer you wrong. Audible.com/Donny. Just for, because I know we can go all over the place. I want you in 2 minutes to our audience, explain, because you're doing something different on NFTs and in terms of the Gary Vee friends. Explain an NFT and explain your NFTs.
NFT is owning a digital asset. That's exactly what it is. And I get why, you know, in the same way that I told my friends we're all going to date online in 1997, they thought that was crazy. Or, and you innovated on this, Donny, you know, tell the viewers at home, not every business thought they needed a website back in the day. They just didn't. They didn't think they needed it.
Of course
they
not.
didn't, you know, and definitely not a social network account.
Yeah.
So I believe NFTs will be omnipresent. If you have a child in your life that plays Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, or if you remember just 10 years ago, people spending real money buying sheep on Farmville, people buy virtual currency, and that's going to grow. You know, it's not just about the art and the collectible ownership like a painting or a sports card. What's crazy about NFTs is that they have the ability to have smart contracts underneath them. So you could buy, let me give you an example. You could buy a John McEnroe NFT. It's an image of an artist drawing Johnny Mac. But what you're really buying is underneath the image, there's a contract that says you get a 1 hour hitting session with Johnny Mac. Mm-hmm. So you have this all of a sudden.
Experiential, yeah.
Correct. And what you're going to see is every ticket, every membership, all of it is going to turn into this digital asset, this NFT. And people are going to look at each other's NFTs the way they look at each other's photos on social. What I did with VeeFriends was I've been infatuated with intellectual property my whole life. You can watch 100 videos on YouTube where I talk about I'm building Vayner and I'm going to buy IP and I'm going to run it through Vayner. Vayner is being built for me. We have clients today, but eventually we'll have clients and then half the company will work on my owned and operated businesses like I've done with Resi and Empathy. I thought I was going to buy the Smurfs. I thought I was going to buy Starter Jacket. I thought I was going to buy some of these things. Then NFTs came along and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to start my own. So I built my own Power Rangers, my own Care Bears, my own Scooby-Doo. They're called VeeFriends. They're all the things that I talk about: empathy, patience, ambition, work ethic, in character form, empathy elephant, patient panda. And I've sold these NFTs. But what I did was I added another thing that I've been wanting to do. Since I was overly affected by South by Southwest years ago, I've always wanted to throw a super conference. So along with the VeeFriends that people bought, Donny, you get a 3-year ticket to something called VCon that I'm going to throw once a year, where I'm just going to have you'll probably get an email from me in a couple months saying, hey, Donny, do you want to moderate a thing or do you want to do that? Like, I'm going to throw a smorgasbord, Coachella meets South by meets Davos entrepreneurial, innovation summit once a year. And then above that, there was about 2% of the tokens that had silly things like come and sit and watch a Knicks game with me, play me in ping pong, have dinner with me. So I was trying to show, because you started seeing a lot of influencers and celebrities come to the space of NFT and just put out an image. And that's not the real thing there. We're going to buy homes. This is a ledger. We're going to transact. People are going to buy businesses. Like literally people are going to NFT their homes and sell the NFT that comes with the home.
You don't need me to tell you this, but you know your NFT business is going to out-monetize all your other businesses combined 10x.
Well, I'll tell you why. The thing that is just completely I'm trying to learn how to pinch myself and smell a rose a little bit more, because I've always been, I don't like it. But it also helps me not get too low when things are bad, but I'm just kind of that way. But nonetheless, Donny, here's what's nuts. In the contract of my NFT, and what I recommend any listener that goes through it, you can put a royalty component. So there is a 10% royalty, 1% I'm giving to charity, 9% for me, on every secondary transaction. Donny, I didn't make $72,000 the first 7 years I worked for my dad, per year, not obviously cumulative.
Sure.
I made $72,000 in the last 24 hours on the royalties of my NFT.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I said to my brother when it kind of clicked for me in February, I said, George Lucas launched Star Wars as an NFT and then made the movies. He'd probably be the richest man on earth today. He would have never sold it to Disney because the royalties on all that secondary collectibles is just mind-boggling.
So how do if I'm a Pepsi client or I'm a Kraft Heinz client or everything, and I'm buying VaynerMedia, and the very thing that I'm talking to you about is your vision about the next thing. How do you keep one foot on home base to make sure of it? I keeping up with you on an interview is difficult. So how do I, as a client, you're building all these things. How does each thing continue to stand and flourish as the next kind of shiny toy is the thing? And I don't mean that
No, I got it. You mean in a good way.
Yeah.
This is where I get to give you a compliment back to the clip. It's the people, stupid.
Amen. Amen.
Right?
Right answer.
It's the Lisa Buckleys and Claudes and Mark Yudkins and Katie Sagans and Lisa Buckleys and Rob and Wanda. I'm at a place now 13 years in where I'm sitting with, we've got globally probably 1,400 employees. But there's, and you know this better than anybody, there's right now, I would say there are 47, 52 people, that are the company, right? And I've never had, you're catching me at a great time, I've never had a crew like this. Not only are they all exceptional, not only am I better at understanding the industry and what is needed to be successful, but my continuity feeling towards them, AKA, do I think that in my top 40 executives, the Ryan Harwoods, Sarah Baumans, Avery's, Gabby's, do I think let me just give you the math. Of the 40 top people I think run the company today, Allen's, Harker's of the world, I think 80% are here in a decade. That's crazy.
Yeah, I had the same thing. It was just,
and that's why you won, and that's why I'm going to win, and that's what always wins.
How are you dealing?
Real quick, Donny, for everybody who's trying to build different kind of companies, think of it as an offensive line in football. If you keep the same guys together for 5 years in a row, they know everything about each other. And when you're constantly switching guys out, it's hard.
I remember, I didn't think it was a fair fight. We went in for new business because we had this SWAT team that just we could finish each other's it was just, we weren't inventing we just knew it. We knew what we had. We knew it was a dynasty, and you built this up. How do you deal with equity? How do you deal with making people feel like they're owners of a company?
Early on, I had a very tough challenge. I'll be very naked here. I started the company with my brother, and AJ, who's remarkable. And I was 33, he was 22, and we decided to go 50-50. My belief when I started Vayner was I would do it for 5 to 6 years. He would then I would groom him, and he would kind of run it, and I would be on to my next Michigas because, I like the action. I knew that about myself. My brother has Crohn's disease, and when we were exploding from 40 to 300 people in an hour, and literally in 2 years, it was just a lot. And my brother is he has so many more skills than me. But the concept of managing people's feelings was extremely not overly exciting for him. And you know this. The ad business is the people business. Really, I think I'm in the HR business. And then we happen to do all this other stuff. And he came to me and said, I want to do something else, hence how we did Vayner Sports. So I was in this very peculiar spot with equity where I was already not in a place where to this day, I don't feel like I have as much of the company as I'd like to. And so the way I've done that is by building out all these other businesses. So for example, my co-founders in Empathy Wines started as interns a decade ago at Vayner.
Right.
These are gentlemen who became millionaires as partners with me. And so what I'm trying to do, Donny, and what I've been doing is A, I've created a very aggressive bonus pool for the top people. B, most of these people, and why I think I have 80% retention, which over a decade, which is a ludicrous statement.
Ridiculous.
I know that for everybody who's listening, is because of those 40 people, most of them have had a conversation with me of like, look, I'm doing a lot of things in my life. The guy who's going to have equity in VFriends, Andy K, started as an intern on my content team. He's now the president of VFriends. It's gonna change his life. I just tripled his double and a half his salary from VaynerMedia to VFriends. So I think it's not about competing with a holding company that might give you fractions of shares.
Sure.
It's about actually making them feel they're invested by actually doing
where they really have meaty stuff. Is the secret sauce at the end of the day the 30 million followers that you have out there that basically ensures everything you do has a kickstart to it?
The secret to this success is how I built the 30 million followers from scratch.
Good answer. Right.
Right, Donny? It's the fact that I know two core things. And it's very advertiser oriented. When you think about advertising, understanding distribution, where the human's attentions are, and understanding what creative goes into that to provide a victory is the game, right? That was television, radio, outdoor, and print for a very long time. Direct mail. It is completely fragmented, as you know, at this point. So I think what works for me, I'll give you an example with VFriends. When I really talk about it in 3 years, people are going to ask me questions of why I left so much economics on the table on the initial launch. So as remarkable and astonishing as the number I threw out, 40, 50 million, depending on how Ethereum's moving and what it's like, which is just, bonkers. Even for me, I'm stunned and flattered by that success, but understood it would happen. When I talk about $724,000 in secondary sales in the last 24 hours, many of these people who've resold one of my tokens have made more money on that token than I made. What I understood a long time ago is if you're talented enough to know what to do with the 49% of the relationship that you have with every individual on earth, and you're able to provide that other individual 51% of the value, you will be in an incredible power spot your whole life. And I think what I've done uniquely different than the far majority of people that have come along over the last 15 years trying to build a brand on the internet is there's two ways to really win: entertainment or education. Entertainment comes in a lot of shapes and sizes. Entertainment is being very attractive and being a model on Instagram. It could be being, funny in skits on YouTube or dancing. There's a million ways to do it. Education comes in a lot of ways we see as well on LinkedIn and many others where you're talking about expertise. For me, I've played a third kind of little subtle gear, an obsession to making sure that every person that comes in gets more value than I get, which has led to very little asking and a lot of giving my best shit away for free at scale for a decade and a half. And I think that's the secret to what I do. And I think that's going to always be my strength because I know what to do with my 49%.
Yeah. You've always understood. Look, even simple advertising, traditional advertising, you got to give the consumer something. I always said you got to teach them or you got to make them laugh. You got to give them. You can't.
You got to give.
And what's interesting is your approach to business is very much your approach to motivational speaking and everything that you're not a philanthropist because you're a capitalist at the same time, but you understand that one of the bedrocks of capitalism, or at least your bedrock, has been empathy and altruism and giving. So when you're giving a speech, yes, you're making money from the speech, but what is turning you on is that you're giving nuggets, and that's what drives you.
It's a tremendous observation. I actually believe that being selfish around, what makes you happy triggers the ability to then be selfless at scale, which then creates selfish, results. I think that's exactly right. For me, I just don't understand the concept of being transactional or trying to win the short term. My dad actually used to be pretty frustrated with me in the way that I negotiated. But what I explained to him was, Dad, yes, I understand that I probably could have gotten that bottle of wine. And by the way, when it's a bottle of wine, you're getting 500 cases. There's real economics when you're leaving $1 a bottle on the table, right? But I said, Dad, listen, I've watched you since I was 14. This is now maybe when I'm 24. I'm like, I've been watching you for the last 10 years, which is maybe from 14 to 17, he wouldn't let me in the big meetings. But by 17, I was in these meetings. I go, look, you're a gangster. You're a fucking gangster negotiator, but you're squeezing the shit out of your suppliers for every penny, every time.
And they're not going to go the extra distance for you.
And Donnie, what I really started seeing happening, because I'm a very observant kid, is they started the numbers. I started realizing people were coming in and starting price was higher to my dad because they were expecting.
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, and we were in the liquor business where you have to buy from the same suppliers. You can't go, it's not like every other business. You're mandated by the state of which people you can work with by liquor laws. So I took a different approach, and I've always left something on the table for my suppliers. And then with my consumers, my audience, I'll be honest with you. I hate when I'm asking for something. I have a new book coming out in November. I don't love the promotion of that book. I'm not against it. I'm a salesman. I'm a capitalist, to your point. But I love the equity building of not asking for anything. And the longer you hold your breath, the better you're going to do on your ask.
Yeah, yeah. What is if I said to you, because you immigrated over with your family at 3 years old, Queens, you come from Russia. You're living 8 people in one room.
Yep.
You look back now, and there's a lot of people who start at the bottom, but not a lot of people make it where you, if I tap you on the shoulder, I'm sitting next to you on a subway, and I'm going, Gary, how did this all happen?
Ridiculously good mothering.
Love that.
100%. It's, Donnie, you know what's funny? The reason I think I can play it humble and also don't get too high or too low, or am very happy promoting and self-promoting, is I actually think it's a bigger indicator to my parents than to me. I feel like Gary Vaynerchuk is the byproduct of Tamara and Sasha Vaynerchuk, the byproduct of the American dream, especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and really on forever. It's still very much there. What happened was I had a mother who built enormous self-esteem, which is imperative.
I had that. But
Donnie, I'll tell you, and I don't know if you had this with your mom, where my mom really nailed it, and where I think a lot of moms and dads miss it in this day, is she built self-esteem, but not delusion, and held me accountable. I think what we have now is non-accountable, delusional self-esteem.
100 trophies for showing up. Kind of thing.
And you kind of get, then kids grow up and they get insecure because they realize it was all fake.
Yeah.
Whereas with my mom, she would be happy to smack me in my ass or even my face if I went out of line. She also really, really allowed me to breathe. I was a bad student. And then, so it was great parenting. And then it was circumstance. When you're born at the bottom, there's an inherent animalistic need to climb. And I also got to hone my skills. I was growing up in New Jersey in the 80s. So lemonade stands, car wash, shoveling snow, outside for 10 hours a day, unwatched, unsupervised. The streets taught me. Yeah. And the baseball card boom, I learned my craft. And by the time I was 22, coming into my dad's business, and I mean this when I say this, by the time I walked in at 22, I was a 16-year veteran of business. I've been doing business every day of my life, trying to sell something, trying to build something. So I think natural talent meets circumstance. And that's really what I am. I'm a nature-nurture byproduct like most people are, and it just kind of quote unquote worked out for me.
What I love about just about every one of your business philosophies and every kind of instinct that you have and every philosophy is about the human condition. That is what you so understand.
Yes.
And it starts with self-awareness also. But as I listen to your speeches and every one of your philosophies, it starts with understanding flesh and blood and humanity. You're behaviorist. And that's what I find so fascinating about oil. Speaking of human, though, one thing, $1 billion question.
Please.
you get up at 5, you work out, you work from 7 in the morning to 11 at night. You got 2 kids. How do we do that?
Yes. First of all, I wake up at 7 and work out, and more and more, I get a ton of sleep. I think it's about, for me, it's compartments, right? It's all in or all out. That's what works for me, right? So now my fathering explodes because this virtual world is the greatest mitzvah for me of all time. The fact that everyone's now being conditioned to do a Zoom meeting, there's not a single...
What a gift. What a gift. Yeah.
It's what a gift. What a gift. And so for me, it's prioritizing. It's being checked out on the weekends. It's doing things. It's, I'm a byproduct of a dad that worked all day. A lot of us are.
Me
that
too.
Still happens a lot. And vice versa. Moms that work all day. I don't find it overtly, challenging. It's just about prioritizing. And actually, I'll give you the real answer for a lot of the parents. It's not overjudging yourself and beating yourself up. Too many parents miss one thing and they think they're this horrible person. Kids are resilient. We remember the things, not always the missed things. And as long as you try and have good intent, most things will work out.
I had the greatest parents, the greatest dad in the world who all he did was work. But I had the best dad because I knew I still came first. I never counted what he wasn't at. I remember, and with my kids, I had the advantage. I sold my company young. I actually regret it. I listen to you. I get jealous. I get jealous because I was at my space where you are now. I was king of the. I owned the fucking industry. I was Michael Jordan at the time. I couldn't, like, they were coming to us. I was telling clients go fuck them. So I mean the basic thing. And the reason I sold was you solved this problem. I didn't have the vision. I would walk into a 3-hour meeting. I knew how I was going to end in 30 seconds, and I was bored. I was bored with my success. I felt I had won the game. I felt that
you know what's funny? I lived that same life.
No, but you solved it. You've solved it by creating new mountains. But and I created new. I went into TV. I did these other things. But I felt like I won. We were Agency of the Year.
I totally
4 out of 5 years. I was making a ton of money.
Because you did.
I didn't sell because of and I say to people, don't ever say you can't go visit your money. Sell because you're ready to do something else. I got this number. Great. You'd be fucking miserable. Somebody could give you $5 billion unless otherwise you could buy the Jets. So that might make work. That's the only reason you're going to monetize it at any point.
Only one.
But that's a terrible mistake people make, and you don't do it for that reason. And I was bored. And the other thing I found really difficult, I want to know how you deal with this, as an alpha male, past a certain age, being in a service business is really hard. You're sitting across the table from an advertising director that you wouldn't hire 9 levels below. I don't mean the word levels below you, but you wouldn't even hire at your company.
Donny, there's not a meeting I'm in that I don't think I have more capability than the CEO of the company of the meeting I'm in.
So how do you now?
Patience, humility, knowing that I'm eating crow in this situation is actually the thing that's going to make me win the whole ball game. I convert that meeting not into I'm in the ring and having the fight in the main event. I convert it into I'm in the gym 8 weeks before the main event, putting in the work. So this, even what may look like a big meeting and a big pitch. I mean, Donny, to be very frank, I felt that way from the day I started when I didn't even have the W's in the industry. To your point, I've enjoyed winning and being successful in this industry because I like it. I like a lot of the people, but it does have an establishment. As both you and I have lived, there is an establishment, and being anti-establishment is kind of fun.
So much fun, isn't it? Isn't it great?
But for me, it's one more rep. It's another sit up in the gym. It's another 45-minute hitting the bag session because I'm getting dangerously close to having that pass the baton moment where it will thrive without me. I will still be able to stay very close to it. Very much like I've had an incredible rep at this with my dad's wine business. I'm still very much intertwined there, and I'll do the same with Vayner whenever that time's right. And I just know that it's worth it eating that crow.
One last question and then observation on my end. I ask this of everybody, but I'm most interested to hear from you. What is the Gary V brand?
That's a great question. I actually think the Gary V brand is executed on something I believe in, which is every brand is actually consumed differently at the consumer level than people realize, right? People think Nike, it doesn't stand for just do it. It means something different for people everywhere. So I think for a lot of people, it's work ethic, grind, that hustler thing. I think for an emerging group of people, it's whoa, this dude is really pushing kindness and empathy and patience and these very grandma virtues, and he's making them cool. That's neat. For other people, it's innovation and seeing around corners. To me, believe it or not, Donny, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. What I think about is doing the best things I can and hoping that the other person on the other side consuming it, if they choose to, extract some sort of value out of it. For me, it's for the way I see it within myself, it's the obsession of the process.
Your brand, I'm going to break it down for you. Your brand is about giving. And in its essence, whether it's giving your intellectualism in terms of motivation, whether it's understanding the dynamic, the consumer dynamic, and your 49, 51%, you have taken everything by giving everything. And it's a really interesting thing about it. And I really enjoy, I have to tell you, as kind of an elder statesman, as a guy who maybe passed the baton, I've so enjoyed and impressed what you've done over the last 15 years or so. You were kind of a punk on my show. You had that wine business. I was like, oh, here's this guy. He's kind of, but I knew there was something special. But just watching your career and watching what you're doing now, I know it's just a good beginning. And I remember I always used to laugh, for those in the audience that don't know, that your one goal is to buy the New York Jets. And I go, okay. And more than ever, after spending a half hour or so with you today, I do think that's I don't know what the Johnsons are thinking, but I think if anybody can pry away from it, it's you. Keep doing it, man. Keep fighting, keep kicking, keep scratching, and keep setting a good example for everybody.
Cheers to you, and thank you for having me on. It was an honor. Stay well.
You got it, buddy.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Donny. Talk to you soon.
You got it, man.